This is Corey Rosen with the Story Podcast. Today, I am super excited to announce new guest Brandon Martin to the story. Born and raised in Lancaster, PA, Brandon grew up a youth of 90s grunge rock era with dreams of his high school rock band somehow making it big. Through high school, he worked both as a stage tech at AMT, which is a family-owned business, as well as a local stagehand in Philly and Hershey. Hershey. For large concert tours that would come through the area, which is where he was first exposed to live touring production. Around this time, Brandon's band recorded their first demo album, at which point he could finally hear just how amateur they were. So Brandon set his sights for the next big thing in his book. After graduating high school, Brandon packed up a few belongings in a U-Haul and drove south to Florida, where he attended Full Sail University to get an education as a sound guy. After graduating Full Sail, Brandon immediately drove back to Lancaster and showed up on a doorstep of Clair Brothers Audio in Lititz in search of a job. Barry Clair agreed to chat with him and asked him what he thought he could do, if hired. Brandon told him he'd sweep up the warehouse if he had a broom for him, and Barry Clair hired him right on the spot. He worked his way through the shop for about 6 months, and then he was given his first touring gig with an actual established band. It's been quite a winding road since then, but here he is back in Lancaster again, now with 3 kids and a wife he says he doesn't deserve, and a job that allows him to still pretend to be in the music business. These days, Brandon's time at AMT is pretty evenly split between overseeing production, marketing and sales, and booking shows. He gets to work with an awesome bunch of people who try their hardest to make him and everybody else look amazing. And that can be a tall order.
It can be.
So, what inspired you to get involved with music in the first place? You say that you started a band in high school, but what was it that really made you have a love for music? Was it a particular album, a particular band? You said 90s rock, grunge rock era.
Yeah, I think I fell into that scene just by virtue of when I came along in the world. But yeah, I guess my love for music and my affinity for it really came from my parents encouraging it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were always exposed to music. My grandfather was a great bluegrass player. I mean, total grassroots, could pick up any stringed instrument. Never had a lesson in his life, but would sit on the couch and play guitar, banjo, harmonica, fiddle, whatever.
Wow.
Whatever he put in his hand. And yeah, I remember always just appreciating that in him.
That's awesome. Was AMT established before you were born, or was that?
It was not. No. AMT opened its doors in 1997.
We should also clarify that AMT stands for American Music Theater.
American Music Theater, yes. Yeah.
That's in, do you know the address by heart?
I do. 2425 Lincoln Highway East. We're directly across from the Cracker Barrel at Rockville Outlets.
You see, it's funny. I've only been here for like 4 or 5 years, but every time I drive down Lincoln Highway, it's always a surprise to me what's there.
I lived most of my life here, and I can still find something new.
Right, yeah. It always surprises me. Oh, that's right. The Dutch Wonderland is right there. Oh, that's right. There's the Cartoon Network Hotel. That's right there. Oh, right. That's right. There's AMT right there. Oh my goodness. It's like going. Have you ever been to Pigeon Forge or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like it's granted. Pigeon Forge has way more elaborate, cool stuff. Yep. Visually, at least.
Yes.
But it's same. Lincoln Highway, I feel like, is almost the Broadway of.
It's the Strip.
It's the Strip. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what inspired you to start your first band?
Oh, I mean, I think the same thing that every high school wannabe musician. You just want to play rock and roll music, and had some good friends who were also interested, and hung out in the basement and attempted to make some music.
What was the process like? Who wrote the songs, or was it just mainly like a cover kind of thing?
Oh my, yeah, we played a lot of cover songs, and then we wrote some original tunes, none of which are worth listening to or discussing. It was bad. Oh my goodness. but at that age, we approached it with such fervor and I did. I don't think anybody else in the band did.
Oh, really?
I was like, guys, we got to make this work. We were never close. It was.
Well, I mean, it's building blocks. You know what I mean?
It was so much fun.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
that sounds like a lot of fun. What was you said you recorded your first debut, like our first demo album. What was recording like way back then?
We recorded onto, this is going to sound crazy, but and when I say we recorded an album, no one was asking us to do this.
Right, of course. This was a purely passion project.
We wanted to have something we could, put a cassette or a CD into the player and listen to ourselves. So we booked a little bit of time with this kind of home studio in Lancaster. And this sounds crazy, but I think he recorded us onto VHS.
What?
Like just audio. Because it was tape, but
right.
it didn't cost as much. But
That's
you could
wild.
still mix down and track onto, left and right on VHS, and yeah, we went along with it.
That's insane. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure of that. I remember a VHS tape being involved and no video.
That's so crazy.
But he was actually an incredible guy. Like he's a music teacher, I think, still in the area.
To do that, yeah,
and
sure
audio guy, George Yellick.
No way.
Do you know
George
George?
Yellick?
He taught me like everything I knew about guitar and drums.
Dude, George Yellick is one of my favorite people in the entire world.
He's the man. Like he was the most patient person with me
for
so many years. Yeah.
Now that you say that he recorded in VHS, that makes so much sense. That's
Does it?
just
Okay,
like
good.
him.
Maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe we can get him to clarify that.
Oh, dude, no, I'm having
But he had
him
this
on.
like really cool studio setup, and we felt like we were actual like musicians.
George Yellick is the man.
You had to like track things and overdub, and it was cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, that's wild. George.
Yeah,
he was hugely instrumental in anything music related that I had going on.
That's awesome. Yeah, he taught guitar lessons here and did percussion as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's the most incredible bass player you've ever seen. He's one of the most stoic and
very thoughtful guy. Yeah,
very thoughtful, very smart dude, and very grounded and but also detached as well.
Yeah,
he's one of the more interesting dudes. Like he doesn't deal with technology at all, or rather he breaks it down into just code.
Yeah,
is super smart and super
brilliant guy,
super intelligent. Then that makes so much sense now that why he would record that on VHS.
Yeah,
makes total sense to me now. That's so wild. So is he the person that kind of taught you how to play, or?
He taught me guitar, and I even studied drums a little bit with him, just kind of because he's like, do you want to take a few weeks and just work? He had a drum kit, and I guess I expressed an interest, and I love the drums. I never got very good at them, but yeah.
Listen, if you're gonna take up any instrument, I would recommend the drums because it's gonna teach you rhythm.
Yeah.
It's gonna teach you dexterity.
Yeah.
You're gonna be way more independent with your limbs. It is, and it's just a lot. You get to get out your anger.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, especially with 90 grunge-rock.
Oh,
you're just banging
Absolutely.
on stuff all the time. Especially as a teenager, you got a lot of reasons to bang on stuff.
So much angst.
So much. Yeah. Exactly. If any instrument, granted, it's loud, but also you can dampen them. But definitely go for drums is one of my, because you can apply rhythm to every other instrument.
Yeah, I'd say drums or piano if you have the resources and the means to get into piano at all. The same thing. I mean,
same thing. Yeah,
you might argue that piano is more of a percussion instrument than it is anything, right? I mean, it is, I guess, technically.
Yeah, and you're gonna be good with your hands for the rest of your entire life.
Yep.
So, what made you make the choice to go to Florida? Was George Yellick a good inspiration of you getting into the production aspect?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know that he intended to be or anything, but I think that was all part of it. I had actually was accepted to Lebanon Valley College as a music major, because music was just always what I was into. And then as I started to prepare to go there and looked at the curriculum more, and it's like a lot of theory, and you have to declare an instrument, and guitar was like, I was going to be learning a lot of classical guitar and things like this. And I started to think, like, I just got out of high school. I was so thrilled to be done with school. And I was like, this is like a lot of classroom stuff. This is serious. And the closer I looked at it, a full education in music probably wasn't the best idea for me. Because it was not going to be just jamming out with my friends.
Right.
So, as you've alluded to, I was also kind of in a parallel universe exposed to live audio production, show production, things like that, which hugely piqued my interest. I was coming to terms at the time that no matter how much I loved music, I wasn't great at it. And I just really kind of enjoyed the kind of the behind the scenes aspect of production. At which point I heard of this small school. At the time it was small, now it's huge, down in Florida, that you can get a 2-year associate's degree studying kind of the technical aspects of music and of production. And you can even double up your credits and finish it in a year if you want to. I was like, that's for me. Yep, I'm going to do that. So that worked out. I did that. And got some learning under my belt.
That's good. It's always interesting when you talk to like musicians about college.
Yep.
Because college is it's a beast and a half to have to deal with, especially if you want to go for music. Because if you just want to jam out with your friends, college is not the space to do that at all. There's a little time to do that, but it's not. It's mainly focusing on theory and getting very, very good at your instrument. And that's a lot of time, a lot of time commitment that I don't think people are very ready for.
It's work.
It's work. It is being a musician is ultimately you're putting at least 7 hours a week, and that can be more or less. Easily, but a minimum of at least 7 hours just practicing through that's like an hour a day, which is not a lot to some people, but to some people that's a lot of time. And to go into your musician or go into your instrument and really understand the instrument and tune in your craft, it is a no joke at all. And it can break something. It broke me.
Is that right?
I went here for percussion.
Okay.
And I'm not really good at set playing. I'm really good at the auxiliary stuff. So like marimbas, whatever have you. Not drum set. So I just got really discouraged because it was a lot of practice that I've never been used to before. I was usually capable of sight reading on sight, so that's what I kind of went with, and I just didn't get anywhere to the point where I almost was kicked out because I wasn't doing so well with my percussion. Thankfully, my music composition saved me. I was decent enough at that, and I was interested enough to dedicate to that. So really, college is a choice of what you're dedicated to.
What you're willing to put the effort into. For sure. And
like you said, some people aren't very good at. They just love doing it, and that's part of me going on to the music scene now. I'm not very good at piano in the sense that I'm not classically trained at all. If you give me a chord chart, I can play along. But otherwise, it's you look at me to solo, I can't do it. Leave that to somebody else who knows what they're doing automatically. But finding places to fit in is often the best thing, and that's what you did. Finding something that you can actually, hey, I'm part of the team and I'm part of the experience. I'm just doing it back here. Was it ever a thing? Because I know some people do that because they're shy as well, or they're like introverted. Was that ever a?
Yeah, what I think the things that did perhaps drive me in music never were to be in front of people.
Mm.
I could do it. I didn't mind it. I still don't mind it, but I don't long for those opportunities per se. So yeah, I think I fit right in pretty nicely being the guy in the dark with the black t-shirt on. Yeah.
Right. So, what inspired you to not stay in Florida? You drove right back to Lancaster, you said.
Yeah, I mean, at the time and still today, even more so, we had this, giant in the industry of live production, especially audio production, Clair Brothers, which happened to be, right in my backyard where I grew up in Lititz. Clair Brothers, if you're not familiar with who they are, what they do, they are the global leader in audio for touring support.
Oh, wow.
Now, these days, they go way beyond just audio. But at the time, they designed, custom built, and provided audio systems for everybody who is anybody. I mean, Rolling Stones, U2.
Oh, wow, really?
Like that level,
That's wild.
Paul McCartney, Elton John, Billy Joel, the mega tours.
Oh, wow.
They were all Clair acts. So knowing that was kind of back in the area. Honestly, if they were in Montana, I would have moved to Montana. I wanted to be associated with them. I
Gotcha.
wanted to get my foot in the door with them. In any way possible. So I did. That's kind of what hurried me right back to the area here.
So the main drive wasn't family or anything. It was the Clair Brothers and just family. It just happened to be here.
I don't know. Is my family listening to this? Do you think?
I don't know. Maybe.
Let's say yeah. It was absolutely because of family. No, no. It made it all the easier. Hey, I had a place to crash. Yeah, my family was here, and I liked Lancaster too. Don't get me wrong.
Lancaster's
it was a very easy place to come back home to. So it just worked out well. And
that's their headquarters because you used Barry Clair himself.
Yeah. So the brothers were Roy and Gene. They started, I think, in like the late 50s. I want to say.
Okay,
like,
so it's an
by
older business.
chance, Frankie Valli was in town. I might be getting the story wrong. They had tinkered in their garage and built these sound systems that apparently were better than what was commercially available. Word caught on. Next thing they were doing Elvis, they were doing everybody, and business has just exploded for them.
That's wild.
Yeah. So
I'll have to check them out.
I did. Yeah, for sure. Please do. Clair Global, I believe they are now going as. So I drove up to Lititz when I got back, and they had actually designed and installed a system at American Music Theater when it opened. So I did kind of have an in through that. And yeah, Barry Clair, one of the sons, agreed to meet with me. And
the rest is history.
I don't know if he was expecting me to come in thinking I'm worth anything, because I just graduated with I have a degree, because up to that point there weren't degree programs for that kind of thing. This was kind of a new thing. You put your time in being a grunt on the road, and you maybe if you're good, you learn what sound really is, and you work your way up. So I kind of knew that going into it. I never wanted to come across that way. So I literally, he asked me what I thought I could bring to the table. And I don't know if he was expecting me to say, well, I have this degree and here's what we learned in school and this and that and the other. I said, if you have a broom, I'll get busy in the shop. And I think that's the right thing to say in any job interview, honestly.
Really?
I mean, you have to be willing, not to get on a soapbox. I think today, but especially in that industry, you see so many well-intentioned individuals coming out of maybe a degree program or whatever, thinking, all right, this is my fast track to get to the top. And I don't care what advancements occur in education or technology, there's no real replacement for just working your way up and working hard and proving you have work ethic, proving you have a willingness to put in what it takes. So that's what I did.
No, that's
yeah.
no, I'm with you there. It's very humbling to have to do that and say, well, listen, if you'll take me for cleaning up the shop, I'll do it.
Yep.
And then working your way up there, because it's more proof that you're not here for the notoriety or anything. You're just here to work and have fun, and whatever, and being a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So what was the journey up for you like?
It happened, maybe quicker than I expected. I worked in the shop at everything from testing speakers that would come off the road from these big tours. We'd get systems once a tour would wrap up, and we'd have to go through them component by component, test them, clean them, whatever, put them back in inventory or package them for their next tour to get them right back out the door. And I just finished putting together a system for a tour. Apparently, I don't know if someone fell through or what. They needed a tech, a PA tech for this particular tour. So I was asked if I'd consider hitting the road. And I think before they even told me who it was for, I said yes. At that point, I just did not care.
Jumped for it.
I said, yep. Like, do you want to know who it is? I was like
I just want to go.
Yeah, I don't care.
I just want to go.
So it was a young burgeoning group called NSYNC, a boy band, if you will.
Yeah.
Yep. That was my first foray into touring.
What's it like to tour, especially because I think I remember a little bit about NSYNC. Was that a bigger band at the time?
They were very big.
Yeah.
By the end of my time working with them, I mean, we sold out. I say we, like I had anything to do with them selling well.
But the
two
band,
two nights back to back, Soldier Field in Chicago, like that. Jeez. That kind of big, like.
So what was it like touring with that kind of a bigger act?
It was incredible at that age, especially just eye opening. I think I was 20 at the time and lived in a combination of a tour bus and hotel rooms at each city, and it was it was kind of everything I thought it might be.
Was it a lot of sleepless nights or a lot of partying?
Late nights, for sure. A show goes down maybe by 9 or 10 at night, probably 10 at night, and takes you a few hours to get out of there. Then you're on to the next city.
So, what are some of the other notable musicians you've worked with through that?
Let's see. So, I then went after wrapped up with them. Was on tour with Paul McCartney.
Did you ever get to meet Paul McCartney?
I did. I got a couple handshakes. That's about about as much as
that's literally the dream.
Any of us kids got out of the deal, but
it's still pretty cool.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many 100 times I saw the show. It just doesn't get old. Those classics being played live. So that was cool. After that, Justin Timberlake, NSYNC had stopped, and Justin Timberlake left NSYNC officially and went solo.
Oh, he was a part of NSYNC.
He was, yeah. So he was part of that. So
I know.
I rejoined with him for a tour of. That was actually a world tour, so we were all over with him. Classic rock band Boston.
Yeah.
I was with Shania Twain for a long time.
Shania Twain.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I just recently discovered Shania Twain last year when I did a wedding. People wanted to hear "Man, I Feel Like a Woman."
Oh yeah.
And ever since then, I was like, I need to listen to way more Shania Twain.
She's great. Yeah, really wonderful human being. And got to work a little more side by side actually with her husband at the time, Mutt Lang, who's a notable studio producer. But brought just an incredible wealth of knowledge to the live game. He was a just an incredibly focused and driven individual technically, and you could never tell him that you can't make a live show sound every bit as good as the record.
That's
without
cool.
tracked recorded material and stuff like that. It was really neat to kind of see his process with things like that. And
Yeah, sure. Traveling worldwide, you probably encountered some interesting situations, like the plugs not matching.
yeah, you tend to at least you hope to have all that stuff covered in the prep work leading up to a tour. But yeah, you kind of get used. You got something in the bag of tricks for almost any situation that may arise.
What was one of the biggest culture shocks you think you had while on tour?
Oh my, there were so many. I don't know why this pops to mind. In Japan, so I'll preface by saying on tour, an artist will travel with their touring crew, so they're kind of dedicated for that tour, and that's the touring band. Now that's not maybe a huge group of people. That's kind of however many you need to oversee local stagehands.
Gotcha.
So, a large tour, you might roll in and have a call of local stagecraft hands, 100 of them maybe, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the labor involved with setting a show up.
So it'd kind of be like if you're coming here from Chicago, you would call up like Stray or something and have them set up and you just like oversee that.
Yeah, sort of like that. Most cities it's a union gig, so there's going to be a union head that and it's all advanced. I mean,
Right,
months in
course.
advance. Hey, here's how many riggers I need. Here's how many electricians. Here's how many stagehands.
Gotcha.
Whatever, and then they show up at the venue that morning. But in Japan, you show up to the venue and they're already all there, and they're not just there. In the U.S., your stagehands kind of mingle, and they just kind of show up, and half of them look maybe a little hungover,
Right.
and it's that kind of gig. And Japan, they're there like military formation, lined up in like perfect rows, and they have like their leader, and he starts calling out these commands, and they all like snap to attention. And
Really?
Then they yell something else, and they spread their legs, and they all start doing like toe touches and jumping jacks, and they actually do like calisthenics.
That's
because they put a high priority on job safety, and I guess don't want anybody pulling a muscle.
right.
that
No,
day.
that's super. It's weird, but that's also cool.
It is. Yeah, it was kind of surprising, but it was cool.
I know the Japanese have like a really hard work ethic. Like
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that I've learned about like for America, once you're done your job, you go home.
Yep.
And if someone else is staying over, that's too bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
But in Japan, I'm pretty sure the unspoken rule is that you'll help them until until everyone's done, and then everyone goes home together, which is way more efficient in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But it's so foreign to me. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know this. One thing that shocked me a little bit was that lines, the concept of waiting in line, that's a Western thing. Yeah, and like places like Russia or otherwise, like if like for the airplane, if you call out, all right, Class A comes on now. Nope, it's just everybody at once.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was insane to me that the concept of lines were like specifically a Western idea.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah, that's really cool though in Japan that they're so dedicated to their work, and they're so community orientated as well. Probably, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I know in Europe.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm on the spot with this. There's a lot.
Smaller portions.
Of course, but
I've heard there's square toilets in Italy.
What's that?
Square toilets in Italy.
Yeah. I can't say if they all are, but I do recall. Yeah. Sitting on some square thrones.
Europe is weird, man.
I mean, you got places in the Middle East too with really no toilet. Parts of Asia as well. It's a hole in the floor.
That must be fun.
You just kind of
do it.
get down low. Yeah.
So, what brought you back to AMT?
Oh, so my goodness, that's a long story, and it goes off track of probably what we want to discuss. But I post 9/11, I actually enlisted in the military.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was going to do that for a little bit, and then get back to my touring job. That was the plan. But that couple years of going in and serving turned into 9. At which point, then by the time I got out the military, I was married and we had our first child. So I was not going to go back.
Right, obviously.
As planned. And life had brought us to Colorado. I was in Colorado for 12 years, both in the military and then afterward for an additional 5. We moved way up into the mountains and communed with nature quite a bit and our community.
That's a lot
and
of
our
fun.
little church up there. It was awesome. At that point, we had 3 kids then, and really excited to get them back around some family. I'd always stayed involved with American music theater from afar, but was excited to kind of come on in a more official role and take on some of that responsibility as well.
I want to go back to the military. Did you ever do anything music-wise in the military? Because the military has some really cool music stuff going on as well.
They do. They have a lot of really cool programs, both musically and technically involved with music. But no, I did not in any kind of official capacity, other than try and snap up like every musical instrument I could from random markets in the Middle East.
Yeah, that is one thing I would love to do. I would love to travel to cultures, and like I would love a pair of tablas or dablas from India. Tabla, yeah. I would love to learn how to play one of those.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Sandeep Das at all.
I do not.
He's a world-class tabla player.
Okay.
And he came by and he was just using all these different techniques. He was literally hitting this drum with a hammer, and I'm like, don't do that, because you don't hit drums with hammers where I'm from. And
it's that strong goat skin though, right?
Right. Yeah. So it was really cool. I would love to play like a santar or one of those Middle Eastern stringed instruments that are just so wild and so exotic sounding. Yeah. I would love to mess around, especially as a composer.
I eat that stuff up. I love it. Yeah.
I know, it would be so. Yeah. I went to Central Park one day, and there was this guy playing this bamboo stringed instrument. I'm like, what is that? That looks insane. That's awesome. Yeah. And it's so so I guess you went to you really enjoyed the cultural music of everywhere you went.
I did. I think obviously that's not what you're there for, so you got to keep your head on straight. But I just always really enjoyed cultures, whether that be music or culinary or just social structures and things like that. I was just always very fascinated with that.
That's going to grow you in so many ways too.
Yeah, and it gives you such a different perspective, coming back to Western civilization and
and realizing that, like, okay, maybe things aren't as what they had seemed to be,
and the things we complain about.
Oh, right, exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at. It's like,
oh my goodness,
I'm going to complain about traffic, and meanwhile over in
I catch myself doing it all the time, and
because it's simply put, problems are different everywhere.
They really are.
And once you've been everywhere, you realize, okay, maybe this isn't as big of a problem as it seems to me right now.
Yep.
Like traffic, for example. It's like I literally could be riding a horse and buggy right now.
Yeah.
Or I could be riding a donkey or something. Otherwise, did you ever get a chance to go to Germany?
Yes, I've been to Germany several times, yeah.
One of the more interesting things about Germany is that there's a piece that's been played for, I think, over like 500 years. It's in the something like that, but it's every 100 or so years the note changes, and it's like the slowest piece ever written. And I think it was started like a few centuries ago.
Oh wow!
In like this random church out in the middle of nowhere. And that's some place, because I think the note recently changed, so there was like a big event around it.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
Because it's so rare that a note changes that people. Like, I think it's gonna be like another 100 or so years till it changes again.
Okay.
So it's like a music experiment that I thought was like so wild.
Yeah.
That's cool,
Very
man.
Interesting.
So in the military, was it mainly tours or?
Yeah, it was a combination of the 3 longer term deployments, I suppose, and then several shorter term trips.
Was that a just a bout of patriotism from 9/11, or was that just?
Yeah, I think it really stemmed from that. I never had any desire or inkling to be in the military. That wasn't really part of my thought process or leanings as a youth, or even after high school. I remember graduating high school, and recruiters are always calling and knocking on your door, always. And I was like, get lost. There's no way. No, not gonna happen. And so it came as a real shock, both to friends and family, and I think to myself as well. But yeah, I think not to dramatize it, but when those towers fell, it was it stirred something in me and in a lot of us.
I was going to say, it's like there's no dramatizing that. It's
yeah,
just
I
what
didn't
happened.
know. Yeah, I didn't even know what it was per se, but I remember specifically I was in a hotel and I was in Paris on tour, and over there you had access to news stations that were much different.
Of course.
You had exposure to a different style of reporting, I'll say. I think it was actually the BBC worldwide, and I remember seeing they had some kind of really in-depth reporting from the fight in Iraq at the time, and they're interviewing some service members and things, and it struck me, these are people my age, who maybe signed up for this, maybe didn't, but they're my age, and they've left wives and children at home to go do this. Here I am, living an extremely privileged life in a fancy hotel in Paris, and I don't even have a wife or kids. What am I doing?
Was that while you're doing your music thing?
That's while I was on tour. Yeah. So it started a little process that turned into a pearl that grew and grew, and yeah, through some thought I didn't even necessarily want to have, and a healthy amount of prayer, I was like, I think I'm going to do the craziest thing I've ever done, and
Join the military.
I did. So yeah, it was a chapter in life that I don't regret. Wasn't all fun stuff, wasn't all pretty stuff for sure, but
Probably struck some strong character.
it did. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to take away from all of that, for sure. Yeah.
Being told to wake up and having to set a regiment routine, and probably getting into shape was probably
Sure.
also a lot of fun, but also a lot of strenuous activity.
Yeah.
It's
Plenty of that. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I kind of how do I put this? I admire about the military is their strenuous strength training, because they realize that you have to be healthy in order to do literally anything almost in regards to like the military. But it's been a shortcoming of mine to take for granted my body and to let it go places that it probably shouldn't go, at least in a healthy manner. And it's one thing that recruiters came after me as well. Recruiters come after everybody. I couldn't join because I'm medicated, and they don't do medication.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think. Or at least that was the reason they gave me. And so it was always. But I was always lean because I was, young, high metabolism, doing soccer, basketball, baseball, all that kind of stuff, and swimming as well. So I was in shape, so I was feeling good. But afterwards, I was like, man, if I had gone to the military, I would have had that organized, structured routine, and I would have been able to, like, it's pretty much free time management classes.
Absolutely.
If you want to view it that way.
Yep.
because it's such a strict regimen of time. You have to organize your like army bag, or else it gets dumped out all over the place, and you have to redo it. You have to like roll up your sleeves in just the exact way. You have to present in such an exact way, and it's a sharpening of the mind
Mm-hmm.
in such a way that you can actually get stuff done
Mm-hmm.
in a timely manner. And it's something I've always admired and wanted to be a part of in the military. I just, and granted, I never wanted to go out and fight people. That's not
Yeah,
what I was
and
about.
I'll be the first to say it's not for everybody.
Oh, for
and,
sure,
And
yes.
one of the things that struck me also is I realized how fortunate and how blessed we are as a nation to be a nation where you don't have to.
Right. Yes.
Like that's huge.
That is gigantic.
I don't think a lot of people realize how many countries around the world, they don't care what you think, they don't care what you believe in. When you turn 18, you're going away for 2 years, and you're gonna do your time for your nation. Then you can come back and decide what you want to be. And that's not the case here, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
And not only that, but there's other places where, if you, like for example, you can't live free.
Yeah.
Because they have to have a military. They have to have, and this gets into a whole bunch of other topics that that get controversial very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for everybody. But also, there's plenty of other jobs besides fighting people in the military that
Oh, absolutely.
that you can do. You can be a musician and be in the military.
Absolutely.
You can be an engineer and do your Coast Guard, do your National Guard stuff, and that's not fighting people at all. It's not all doom and gloom.
No.
They're gonna put you where you best fit, and that includes whether you're going in to fight people or just do what you want to do in the military. There's a lot of options.
Yep.
And so it's not all doom and gloom, but we are just extremely blessed to be able to not have a choice in the matter. We're not forced to go to the military. We're not forced to fight for a country. Anymore, at least.
Yep.
Unless they reinstate the draft.
Yeah. Hey, we'll see.
We'll see what happens with that. But it's a wonderful blessing that we can have people like you or anyone else in the Army that just feel that strong pull to protect what they love. And so thank you for your service.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
So going back to AMT. I'm kind of curious of how all that stuff. Actually, you know what? We'll get to that a bit later. We're kind of rounding out our time on the radio, so I'll finish off with before we go off on another like hour long conversation with AMT. I definitely want to talk about what it was like for your faith.
Yeah.
Because you said there was a lot of prayer involved. What was that like throughout that kind of journey?
Yeah. So I think anytime at that time of life, and I think for most of us, especially at that time, but really throughout your whole life, you're forced to look at these big decisions. Whether that's a different job, whether it's going in a completely opposite path, whether it's family related, whatever. One of the things I think we're guaranteed is that we're going to have to make some big decisions at some point in our life.
Always.
And if you don't, you're probably not doing it right. And I really wrestled with that. How on earth do I know if I'm making the right decision? I know I can pray, but, at least my faith, God doesn't speak vocally and openly to me. Like, so I'm trying to read between the lines, like what is going on? And, my mom, actually, I had this conversation with her, and she gave me some of the best advice that I still, carry in my pocket. And she said, pray about it. And then when you go to sleep at night, do you feel at peace about it? Or do you sit there worrying and pray for that peace? And as crazy, and I mean crazy, I'm not saying going in the military is a crazy thing to do, but for me it was. I had a career that I was growing in, that I loved.
You're literally living the high life almost.
Yeah, and I was decent at it, and I was right on track with my plans. So I checked a lot of boxes in that regard. So for me to kind of take an abrupt 90-degree turn and do that just didn't make sense on paper whatsoever.
Right.
so as crazy of a detour as that was, oddly enough, when I did that and just submitted things over to God and prayed about it and asked for peace about it, I had it. I had it, times 10, and which is weird. That didn't even make sense to me. I was like, how am I cool with this?
Right.
The military scared me like to death. Not fighting or getting shot at or any of that. Just like the structure and the dress right dress and what my preconceived notions of being in the Army was at the time, because I didn't know anything really about it.
Just movies.
Yeah. So I felt that, and I was given that, and that is why I proceeded. That, and I think it's okay to pray for closed doors. It's something I've gotten good at is I'm not going to pray for like God, speak to me audibly. I just need this in black and white. I'm not not a terribly smart man. I just need to be told yes or no on this. So if you could just go ahead and give me a sign. But really praying for doors to either open or close. Pray for a roadblock. If this is not part of the design, pray for that roadblock. And if it is, may doors open that probably shouldn't even open. Opportunities arise that are just out of left field.
Right.
So I don't know. That's just kind of a personal. I think everybody kind of operates differently in that space. But for me, that's kind of.
I'd heavily agree with
what's
you.
Been working.
I really do agree with you on that one. It's as I've grown a lot in the past few years. Granted, I'm only 22, so there's a lot more growing to do. But recently, it's been a big challenge of mine. It's like, okay, what makes me feel at peace? Like, yeah, I can throw stuff on the cross and like say that's me at peace. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes, like my mother died when I was a child, and at that point you just had to put that grief on the cross.
Yeah.
And because you're never gonna get over the death of a parent, and or like a close loved one. That's not gonna happen, by your own will at least. So at some point you do have to throw things on the cross, but you do have to come up with these big decisions in life where, we'll get a little bit personal. For me, it was, do I talk to this ex ever again? I'm so attached to her still. Is it going to be worth me being like friends with her, or is it just going to cause more pain?
Yeah.
So at that point it was just part of me felt bad because she wants to be friends, and that's just friends, and that's completely cool. But I'm too sentimental for myself.
Yeah.
So it would always be been in the back of my mind, and but I also wanted her not to feel like being thrown aside either. So it was a really hard choice for me to make, and it came down to it. I just felt more at peace letting it go, and that was one of the bigger choices for me, and the realization of, yeah, you just got to do what you feel most at peace with.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be convicted.
Yep.
Whether you know it or not, whether you know if it's of God or not, if your conviction pulls you, you know you're doing something that you probably shouldn't. So that's kind of.
And listen to your convictions. I think the older you get, the better you get at hearing your own convictions, listening to yourself, discerning
for yourself.
Sure.
So it definitely, I'm gonna start doing that, praying for not necessarily botched opportunities, but just a slow close of a door, and then an opening of another. That was kind of this podcast. It came out of left field for me. This wasn't what I was planning at all for me to be doing. It just came to my mind. It's like, oh, maybe I should do this. Or one of my other friends came up to me and said, hey, let's start a podcast. And I've always loved to do like kind of like journalism. I've always been interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and like I love listening to news and politics all day, because I just love the presentation and the thought process, and all the different devices that can be used within that, for better or for worse. And but I always like getting to know people. Yeah. And asking people I should have never met in my entire life. Just really cool questions, and just realize that that everyone's human. Everyone is human, no matter how big or famous that they or high in the clouds that they might seem, they are at the core just like you or me. They just do other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down to, faith at the end of it.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with it? How are you gonna glorify God with it, and all that kind of stuff. So that's I agree heavily with your advice. If anyone is struggling with these bigger decisions, it is so much easier to pray to God, hey, get rid of this for me, or figure it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Figure it out
Yeah.
for me.
Yep.
But just
He's like, no, I got a lesson built into this one for you. So here's the way we're gonna do it.
exactly,
Right.
and that comes with trials and challenges of faith and all
Mhm.
that and all that stuff. But one should never approach a big problem with just fix it for me.
Yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
always something bigger in mind. If you're gonna approach it with that kind of aspect, it's gonna be a rough time for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's gonna end out our radio time. If you want to, we're gonna continue this conversation over at facebook.com/the story Corey Rosen, CORYROSEN. What are some upcoming projects that you have at AMT?
Well, we are, in addition to our pretty healthy concert calendar for 2022, continuing to book for 2023. We'll have some upcoming announcements in coming weeks and months on those dates, but we are hard at work for our 2022 Christmas show titled Home for the Holidays. We build these shows from the ground up. Everything in-house is designed and built by us for our audience.
Is this an original show?
It's an original show, yeah. So each Christmas through November and December, we run just our Christmas show. Get about 80 to 85 performances in those 2 months. And it is big. It's a whole lot of fun. It's a big holiday event for families. It's a really good mix of kind of the sacred and the secular. So a lot of that kind of traditional Christmas vibes, but at the same time, paying tribute to the reason we celebrate in the first place. So it's a great time, singing, dancing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, and you guys have got some really cool artists coming over. I saw Weird Al was coming.
Weird Al is coming for 2 shows, actually. Yeah. Almost sold out on both. I know one's already sold out. The other's just about there. A few tickets left.
I'm gonna have to get that one.
Yeah.
One of those tickets. Weird Al is, it's Weird Al. If you've never heard
nothing
of
quite
him,
like a Weird Al show.
No, there's nothing quite.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be on my show, so I started trying to figure out how to contact him.
Yeah.
But his website literally has every other question you could ever think to ask him.
Yeah, there you go.
So I was like, well, there's no point.
Yeah.
There's no his website is weirdly very detailed from every interview he's ever had. I'm like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
But also, fair enough. I mean, I guess that's what you got to do when you're such a
he got
weird
sick of doing
person.
interviews. He's like, I'm putting it all on the website. Yeah.
He does parodies of songs that are just some of the weirdest, coolest things that you'd ever imagine. So you guys have a website?
We do. You can check out everything that we're up to in our full event calendar at amtshows.com.
Yeah, and they got some really cool stuff coming up for you. You can find all that stuff on there. I'm trying to think of what to do. If you guys like we said, we're gonna talk more about AMT for an hour or so after this session. So if you want to stick with us, come over to facebook.com/the story Corey Rosen. You can follow us on Spotify, anywhere you stream your podcasts. Right now, we're going to take a little bit of a break of a transitionary to the radio. You're going to hear my original song, You Remain. This song was written about 2 years ago during the COVID pandemic when everything shut down, and it's just a song of you realize that everything becomes temporary. Everything in this world is temporary. So the only thing that remains in the end is God, and that's what this song is really about. So with all that said, please enjoy my original song, You Remain. When I am weak, can no longer speak, you are there, right beside me. When all hope is lost, and I can't bear the cost, you are there, paying it for me. And when things turn to dust, and there's nothing to trust, you are there, honest to me. Oh, it's clear who you're meant to be. You are my strength. You are my faith. When all things fade away, you remain. When I've been crying, everything is dying, you are there, breathing life into me. And all I do is fear, and nothing seems clear. You are there, comforting me. Oh, it's clear who you're meant to be. Oh, you are my strength. You are my faith. When all things fade away, you remain. So I'm gonna sing and shout and tell them all. That's when every kingdom falls. Yeah, you remain. So I'm gonna sing and shout and tell them all. That's when every kingdom falls. Yeah, you remain. So I'm gonna sing and shout and tell them all. That's when every kingdom falls. Yeah, you remain. So I'm gonna sing and shout and tell them all. That's when every kingdom falls. Yeah, you still remain. So I'm gonna sing and shout and tell them all. That's when every kingdom falls. Yeah, you still remain. So I'm gonna sing and shout and tell them all. That's when every kingdom falls. Yeah, you still remain. Yes, you are my strength. You are my faith. When all things fade away, you remain. You remain. And that was my song, You Remain. We're going to continue this conversation with Brandon Martin from AMT over at facebook.com/thestory. So follow us there. And for the radio, you guys are going to I'm going to send you guys back to the music. All right, cool. All right, cool.
That was a beautiful song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
one of my better songs for sure. That was I'm not really good at writing songs per se. I really don't pride myself in that. I pride myself more in the instrumental, the orchestral aspect, which is a large part of that song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to talk more about AMT, like what exactly you do there, and what all your director of operations at AMT.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Well, that can mean a whole lot of different things from day to day. The way I approach it is making sure each member of our team and each department has the tools and resources they need to do what they do and to operate effectively. I try to implement a healthy dose of servant leadership into what I do. I endeavor to not be at the top of any pyramid. We don't really operate that way at AMT anyway. So it works out well. But hey, if everything's running smoothly, then my job's easy. We've got an incredible team, whether it be box office to house management to obviously production. We work with Andrea McCormick, our artistic director, who designs and develops our original programming.
That's cool.
And then obviously the concert side of things, which is when you put your concert promoter hat on and book and sell shows the best you can.
How do you reach out to different artists in order to get them to perform? Because you've had like people like Chicago, Trace Atkins, Jay Leno, people like that. How do you get those? How do you like reach out to them, or do they reach out to you?
We just stalk them on Instagram until they finally get back. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, kind of. So we work a lot in this industry. You work a lot through agents. They have their representation, and we even have ours. We work very closely with a booking agent, and it's kind of all over the place. But in simple terms, we kind of start out each year with a huge roster. We sit down and kind of meeting of the minds, myself, my father, and our booking agent, Ross, and we put our minds together. We might order lunch in and just lock ourselves in the room and brainstorm, and get a huge wish list of artists we think we'd like to present and who would do well at AMT. We scour data. We look at sales history in similar markets. We compare different markets to ours and see what works well there. What they've got coming up. Are they on the rise? Are they on the fall? Are they holding steady? All of that kind of comes into play when building that list, and that's we kind of call that our target list, perhaps,
right.
Of who we may want to go after. Yeah. Once we've got that compiled, kind of formalize offers on paper, and those would go to their agents or their agencies, and then they may sit for months on the desk of their agent. Are they even touring that year, or are they going to be in the studio recording an album in the fall? And so they don't want to commit to dates around late summer, or myriad variables at play there. So we end up probably getting about half of our calendar populated by those efforts, and then kind of conversely, we get a lot of agents or artists coming to us, saying, "Hey, we'd love to play AMT. We think we'd be a good fit there," or perhaps even a larger artist that is playing bigger rooms than ours. Most of the time, they might have a date in DC, and 2 or 3 days later, they have a date in Boston. So but they'd love to slip another show in there, kind of in between somewhere, right? And we're kind of right in line. We're geographically well positioned, between Philly, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, DC, New York City.
Right, yeah, that's one thing about Lancaster.
Yeah.
It's just right here.
It is. So that plays in our favor a lot of times. We pick up routing dates for some larger tours as well.
That's cool. Do you ever do local talent at all?
We have attempted that in the past, and certainly something we would love to do more of. It gets difficult, to be honest, from a financial standpoint, in that we say turn the lights on, but that means firing up everything, all systems from box office to parking lot to just our systems, our technical systems as well, has a pretty high price tag on just flipping the switch on all of those measures and operations. So I think, doing like local talent showcase, love the idea, and we continue to look into possibilities with that. In the past, it's been tough to do that and even break even,
Right.
on an event. We typically would have to approach it as something we're going to lose money on.
More like a passion project thing than a
Yeah.
money making thing.
Yeah. So we like to stay in touch with local talent. Sometimes opportunities arise where we can slide in a local support act
For like an
an
opener.
opener.
Yeah.
Most of the time the artist themselves maintains control of that. They either they want to provide their own opening act, or they don't want an opening act. But the opportunity does arise, and we like to always be ready with some great options. So kind of keep our thumb on the pulse of the local scene. We like to know who's doing what, and anytime we can include, shine a spotlight on some local talent, we love to do that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so part of the conversation of the podcast is to hold festivals. Have you ever done that?
Music festivals.
Music festivals, yeah.
Yeah. There's been a couple, but we've partnered with Clipper Magazine Stadium, home of the Barnstormers, where I think it was 2015. Did a show. It wasn't a festival per se, but more of an outdoor concert with Peter Frampton and Leonard Skinnard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a big show.
That's cool.
And then in 2018, we did what we called Rock at the Park. That was more of a full day music festival. I think we had like 9 bands, all kind of skewing towards that 90s alt rock era. So a lot of throwback stuff. Great bands. Maybe none that you would know, but
Maybe.
Fuel, Sister Hazel, Eve Six,
I've heard of
Long Beach Dub All Stars. And then we were able to showcase a lot of local talent with that one as well. I think we had 3 or 4 local bands. We held a big, like a Battle of the Bands event at Tellus 360 like a couple weeks prior, and
That's cool.
let these bands come out and kind of audition, if you will. Not for us. They had a panel of judges. It was a fun thing.
Yeah.
And I got to get them on a big stage. And it was a big production, huge, full scale mobile stage, and
That's cool.
it was a lot of fun. It was July 21st of 2018. I remember the date because it was the rainiest July 21st on record in Lancaster County. It was an absolute swamp. The whole thing we still went on with the show. Somehow we pulled it out and the show went on, but it was borderline disastrous. Yeah.
Oh my. So I want to know more about the venue. What about your venue is unique compared to others in Lancaster?
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak directly to others in Lancaster. I don't want to paint with a wide brush across everyone. I know what makes us unique in our industry is that we kind of function both as a theater that provides original content through our Christmas show. For 20 plus years, we also had a spring and summer production, musical review, kind of lightly themed. We had to pull the plug on that during COVID. And then still to present time, we're still trying to fit in so many acts that were postponed. So concerts we had under contract, and we have to find a date for contractually. So we've not been able to bring back our spring or summer show just due to the amount of dates we need to fill in. But yeah, our Christmas show that's our big one that we just love presenting.
Is your venue a smaller, more personable?
It's 1,600 seats. In terms of the size of our room, we're more along the lines of like a 2,000 seat theater. Terrible business decision, perhaps, but but good for the patrons. Is our seats are all a little bit oversized, or a little bit wider, a little bit more leg room between aisles than what would be the standard. So that cuts us down to about 1,600 seats, but makes for a different and more unique experience for the concert goer. It's comfortable.
So I say draw people back because it's comfortable.
It is. It's a different experience. Seeing a show at AMT, I think, in my biased opinion, is going to be different than most concert venues you go to. In that, you're going to see a show there that has space to it and affords the artist the opportunity to play a show like they don't typically get to play. We hear this time and time again from the artists themselves, how much they enjoy and appreciate playing at AMT, not because our catering's good or we have really nice dressing rooms or this and that, but because of the audience. The audience is in a very relaxed state. They're there to hear music done very well. We're a dry venue, so we don't have bar service. So there's not this constant din, this noise of chatter and shouting and clinking glasses either.
More focused.
It's more focused and more to there's a lot more storytelling that occurs, I've found, on our stage. Artists take more time between songs, and because they have that time and space.
It's not always keeping the party going. It's,
right. They're not trying to, shout over.
It's presenting themselves, really.
Yeah. And, we've heard it said they feel like they're in a family room and they're playing for their friends. And so the artist responds in that way, and then our audience gets to as well see a show that maybe it's not better, but it is different. It's more intimate. It's very, very intimate. I mean, between songs, you can hear a pin drop. And maybe that's not what everybody's looking for in a show.
For sure.
But
to those who love
that is kind of our brand. We in 2018, we had Clair Brothers come back in after 20 plus years of their original sound system being in there. We spoke to them and they're like, we have, and we knew this, technology is advanced.
Of course.
Like crazy. The things we're doing now are just miles beyond what we put in there originally. Can we come in and have a look? And they did. And what they came out with was just this incredible audio system. A brief aside, they came in and did spectral measurements of our room, took that data back to their shop, to their laboratory, and they custom designed this line array system out of hard tonal wood. So whereas most speaker boxes, they have a driver, which is like a compression driver or a cone speaker, and then they have typically fiberglass horns, right? Well, they custom CNC milled these horns out of tonal woods to the specifications, to the
space
geometry of our space. To avoid reverberations and
weird things.
weird anomalies with sound waves and things.
Very weird things that can happen.
So we like to say, hey, a show at AMT, it's might not be a hyper rowdy party, but it's a place for the audiophile to come and relax,
soak,
be comfortable, and soak in that music. So if you're a true fan of that music or just music in general, I would encourage folks pick a group, pick one of these acts that's been out there doing this for 50 years and just has an incredible catalog. Maybe you're not that familiar with them. Maybe you're not a fan. Come listen to this music. There's a lot of awesome history out there as well.
They're probably going to play some of their more interesting pieces rather than the popular dance parties pieces.
Yep.
So you're going to hear music that you've probably, never even knew they wrote ever. And two, you're going to hear much more musically interesting and lyrically interesting, deeper things than just what you hear on the radio all the time and just different, saying I love you in different ways.
Yeah. So it's I would say those things make us unique. We're unique in that, again, we have both original programming and we're also a concert venue. That's unique. I think what makes us probably the most, what makes us stand out the most within our industry, not necessarily Lancaster County, but we're 100% independent and family-owned concert venue and promoter. I mean, 95% of concert venues, they're a venue, and then they rent the venue to concert promoters. Yeah. So promoters will come in and be like, I want to bring this show in here, pay them a rental fee or maybe a cut of ticket revenue, and I'm going to put this act in here, and that's that. And that's kind of the standard for the industry. That's how it works. Whereas we say, no, this is our house. We are going to bring in the artists that we want, and more importantly, that our patrons want. And these are going to be acts that are not only quality acts, but they align with our brand. And we're able to really kind of curate an event calendar that way, in a very unique way.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how does your Christian, because it's Christian owned, but that's not kind of like a promoted thing.
Yeah, sure.
But how does your faith impact the choices you make and like the acts you bring?
Yeah, I think our guidelines aren't terribly complicated with that. When looking at any act or artist, hey, yeah, is it going to sell well? Is there a market for this? And does it dishonor our Savior? It's very
very cut and dry.
Yeah,
almost.
If one is yes and the other's no, let's maybe take a stab. We're not beholden to like a specific genre. It's like, no, we only do country or classic rock or this. We'll honestly do anything genre wise that can kind of check those two boxes. We also, we love our team. We love our staff. Our ushers, so many of them have been with us for so many years and just wonderful people. Many of them retirees who just enjoy doing this on a part-time basis. And furthermore, like we're not trying to expose anybody to things we wouldn't expose our own family to. Yeah. So, we've had maybe mistakes in the past where it's like, boy, that comedian was supposed to be clean or cleaner than he was. For whatever night that night they went off on a tangent, and yeah, hey, we're imperfect in that regard, but we try our hardest to make decisions that align with our brand and our values.
So I'm gonna go on and because we're kind of running out of time of the podcast, so I want to ask you some generic questions. Yeah. You call it you're a Christian. What is worship to you?
That's a great question. I think really anything that draws you closer to the Spirit. I've had, I think, some of my own most impactful moments of worship that didn't even involve music.
Of course. I
think, especially growing up in the church, we immediately equate worship to
music,
singing songs in church. And if you have drums and a really great like synth pad behind it, it's even better. That's what it is. That is the space. Yeah. Yep. I think, and maybe I'm not totally answering your question well, but I think worship also these days especially gets really lost in emotion.
Like manipulating almost?
Yeah, perhaps. And I'm not trying to say that that's the intent by any means.
But it's the result often.
Yeah. And that's great. And that's cool. That can bring some people to really, really good spaces, but it's often not enduring. And I think one thing that gets left out of the process of worship is obedience. I think, and I'm not qualified to totally speak on this from any real soapbox, but I think some key components of worship are that emotion is a swelling inside, right? That's a response to the Spirit. But there's also an obedience in worship. And I think that gets lost a lot. I think we tend to fall into that almost trance-like state of like, man, what an incredible arpeggio that just keeps going and building and
Right.
building and building. And let's sing some more about water, and let's get there. And now
Right. Sing this
everybody's
bridge
wound up.
1,000 times.
Whereas, man, I can go off into the woods and stare at a beautiful mountain and have just an equally impactful experience worshiping our Creator. So I think it looks totally different for everybody. At least it should.
That's why this is such a good question to ask everybody.
It is. It's a wonderful question. I wish I would have thought about it more. I probably could have given you a better.
Well, I mean,
I could have sounded smarter about it. But
no. It's all. This is. I'd hate to be scripted.
yeah.
But so what are some of the biggest mistakes that artists or venue owners or you've been touring? What are some of those bigger mistakes that you think are made within this industry?
This industry, like most, are very driven by the bottom line. What is cost of sales and what are final sales? And that's a good thing. We're a business.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to apologize for that. We're in it to make money and to build a healthy organization. But I think what gets missed a lot is taking good care of your people, those that you work alongside, and also the people that are gracious enough to spend their entertainment dollar on you, on your venue. So we tend, I think, to overlook a lot of that. And it's like, well, I just book the best act or build the best original show, and get it out there and make as much money off it as possible. That's great, and that might work for a night. You know, you could have a good night fiscally, but to have that enduring business, and that kind of plays back into us being an independent sole promoter in our venue. Is we're trying to build a relationship with people, both those that work with us and those that come and visit us. So it's got to be a long play, you know, and just treat people well.
Right. It's
the artist as well, you know, equally important.
Yeah, it's one of the we were talking about a little bit pre-show is that or when we called was that you really catered to the audience because if you want to look at it with pure objectionalist terms, the audience is the product or the not the product, the it's the money, it's your income.
I mean, without them, we'd have nothing.
Exactly.
Right? You know?
So by treating them as if they're always going to come, or treating the act as like that's going to bring people, it's not going to necessarily work as well as if you factor in, okay, who's going to want to see this? Who is coming here to see whatever it is, and catering it more towards the audience versus just, well, I know this is going to make a bunch of money.
Yeah. You know, if they can come and have a good experience and be treated well, then mission success, you know. Whoever's on the stage is kind of secondary to that. I mean, I think we can assume they wanted to see that person. They bought the ticket in the first place. What's our role in it? Because they could go elsewhere and see that person. What's going to make their experience unique to the AMT brand? Yeah.
Well, with all this said, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has been great, Corey. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I heavily appreciate yours too. If you want to check out more of AMT, definitely go to their website, amtshows.com, you said?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they have all sorts of acts coming up. Definitely tune in for their original Christmas production that's going to be starting in November, you said?
Yeah. We like to keep everybody up to date, like on Facebook and Instagram too. You can follow us on both of those.
Is that AMT shows?
That's also at AMT shows. Yeah.
Yeah, so follow them wherever you can, be up to date, and check out AMT. They got some really cool stuff coming up, and I'm excited to see some shows at AMT. I've never actually been to AMT the amount of time I've been here.
Come on out and see us. Yeah, guarantee we got something you'll be into.
Weird Al is definitely one of the things, and Chicago is another one. I I didn't realize it soon enough. It was like what, a few days before the show they were in here. I was like, "Oh, Chicago's coming in."
Oh, and that one it sold out so quick
I
too.
know, and by the time I saw it, it was like a week or two before, and I was like, "There is no way in the world I'm going to get a ticket a week or two before."
That one sold quick. Yeah.
All right, well, this has been Corey Rosen with the Story Podcast. This is Brandon Martin from AMT. Be sure to like and follow for us if you want to hear more guests upcoming. Thursday I'm going to have a Grammy Award winner, Miss Doris Hall Galati. She is an awesome person, and we're going to have a really cool time with her. But for now, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.